The heat in Manila on September 23, 2025, is more than just tropical, it's the fire of national outrage. The city simmers not only under the relentless sun, but also under the weight of a nation's frustration and hope. On this day, the air is thick with more than humidity, it's charged with the collective voice of a people who refuse to be ignored. Thousands of Filipinos flood the streets demanding China leave their seas and vowing to defend their sovereignty. The crowds are a sea of red, blue, and yellow, flags waving, fists raised, voices unified in a single urgent message. From students to elders, from city workers to fishermen, the protest transcends social lines, uniting the nation in a rare moment of solidarity. Their chants echo through the avenues, a living testament to the country's resolve. For many, this is personal. Fishermen driven from ancestral waters, Coast Guard crews facing water cannons and intimidation. These are not distant headlines, they are daily realities for families whose livelihoods depend on the sea. The stories of lost income, damaged boats, and constant fear ripple through coastal communities, fueling anger and determination. Each confrontation at sea is a reminder of what's at stake: heritage, survival, and national pride. Social media amplifies every incident, fueling a sense of being bullied by a powerful neighbor. Every video of a standoff, every post about a new incursion spreads rapidly, igniting conversations in homes, schools, and workplaces. The digital age has turned every Filipino into a witness and a participant in this unfolding struggle, making the issue impossible to ignore or downplay. Under President Marcos Jr., the Philippines has shifted to assertive transparency, broadcasting every Chinese incursion and rallying public support for a stronger defense. The government's new approach is bold, using the power of information to expose aggression and galvanize both local and international backing. This strategy marks a turning point, signaling that the Philippines will no longer stay silent or passive in the face of intimidation. These protests are more than noise, they're a demand for action, respect, and the upholding of rights affirmed by international law. The demonstrators call not just for national pride but for justice and the rule of law to prevail in the region. Their banners and chants are a plea to the world: recognize our struggle, honor our rights, and stand with us against coercion. The energy on these streets is shaping foreign policy and pushing the region closer to a dangerous confrontation. As the world watches, the Philippines stands at a crossroads, its people determined to defend their future, even as the risks grow. The cry from Manila is clear. This is a fight for dignity, for sovereignty, and for the right to chart their own destiny. The South China Sea is a global lifeline. 1/3 of maritime trade passes through, and its seabed holds vast oil and gas reserves. For the Philippines, these waters are economic arteries and ancestral fishing grounds now under threat. China's sweeping 9-line claim clashes directly with the Philippines' UN-backed exclusive economic zone. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled for the Philippines, but China rejected the verdict, deepening the standoff. For Manila, the ruling is the foundation of a rules-based order. For Beijing, it's an affront to history and ambition. This legal and resource conflict has turned the sea into a high-stakes arena of geopolitical rivalry. Every day the risk of miscalculation grows. Since 2023, tensions have escalated from diplomatic disputes to dangerous confrontations at sea. Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia have used water cannons and ramming tactics against Philippine ships, injuring crew and damaging vessels. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a calculated campaign to block Philippine resupply missions to the BRP Sierra Madre at 2nd Thomas Shoal. Each mission is a high-stakes test of resolve, with China aiming to force a withdrawal without open warfare. The pattern is clear: relentless pressure, swarming tactics, and near collisions, all designed to assert control. Even a brief de-escalation pact failed to halt the aggression. For Filipino sailors, it's a daily battle of nerves against overwhelming odds. The stakes: sovereignty, security, and national pride. Facing relentless pressure from regional tensions and territorial disputes, the Philippines is investing a staggering $35 billion in a decade-long military modernization, the largest and most ambitious in its history. The primary goal is to transform its armed forces into a credible maritime defense force, equipped with state-of-the-art warships, advanced fighter jets, and cutting-edge surveillance systems. The focus has shifted outward, beyond its shores, with enhanced naval and aerial patrols in the contested waters of the West Philippine Sea. Strengthening alliances is a key component of this strategy, especially the long-standing partnership with the United States. Under the leadership of President Marcos Jr., U.S. access to Philippine military bases has significantly expanded, providing a strategic counterweight to China's growing influence in the region. Joint military exercises and deeper cooperation between the two nations send a clear message. Manila is not standing alone in this endeavor. The strategy isn't to match China ship for ship or plane for plane, but to become a porcupine, a tougher, riskier target that deters aggression. This comprehensive overhaul is a bet on resilience, the strength of alliances, and the power of a united front in maintaining regional stability. China's campaign is a masterclass in gray zone tactics, coercion below the threshold of open war. Using its Coast Guard and maritime militia, China swarms disputed areas, intimidating and obstructing rivals without firing a shot. Filipino sailors and fishermen face constant harassment, water cannons, and psychological pressure. The goal: create a no-go zone, making it nearly impossible for the Philippines to exercise its rights. China exploits legal ambiguity, avoiding clear acts of war that would trigger U.S. intervention. Every incident tests the limits of the U.S.-Philippines alliance. By operating in this murky space, China is slowly winning control, one confrontation at a time. It's a war of attrition fought in the shadows. China's aggression has revived the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty, making it central to regional security. Under Marcos Jr., Manila has embraced the alliance, and Washington has responded with unequivocal support. U.S. warships now patrol near flashpoints, and joint military exercises have expanded, signaling deterrence to Beijing. The U.S. is funding Philippine military upgrades and increasing joint patrols, presenting a united front. But this closeness comes with risks. Manila is now at the heart of U.S.-China rivalry, raising the stakes for any miscalculation. China warns the Philippines against playing with fire, while the alliance raises the risk of being drawn into a wider conflict. The Philippines must balance security needs with the dangers of great power competition. Nowhere is the tension sharper than at 2nd Thomas Shoal, where Philippine Marines hold out on the rusting BRP Sierra Madre. China blockades the outpost, aiming to starve it into collapse and erase Manila's claim. In August 2025, the Philippines drew a red line. Any attempt to board or tow the Sierra Madre would trigger a forceful response. The stakes are enormous. Losing the ship would be a national humiliation and strategic defeat. Manila signals it's ready to risk confrontation to defend its outpost. The U.S. warns that an attack could invoke the Mutual Defense Treaty, raising the risk of escalation. The fate of this rusting hulk now ties directly to regional peace and security. One misstep could ignite a much larger conflict. The South China Sea crisis is deeply intertwined with the growing tensions over Taiwan, a flashpoint that has the potential to reshape the entire region. The fate of these two hotspots is closely linked, with developments in one often echoing in the other. The Philippines' northernmost islands, such as Batan's, are just 150 miles from Taiwan's southern tip. This proximity means that any military conflict involving Taiwan would almost certainly spill over into Philippine territory, making it impossible for Manila to remain on the sidelines. The narrow stretch of sea between the two is not just a geographic fact, it's a strategic reality that shapes every decision. In recent years, Manila has shifted from cautious neutrality to openly acknowledging that it would be drawn into a US-led response if war erupts over Taiwan. Philippine officials now speak candidly about the risks, aware that their country's security is directly tied to what happens across the strait. Recent joint patrols and security talks between the Philippines and Taiwan have further heightened tensions. These moves, intended to bolster mutual defense and share intelligence, have infuriated Beijing, which sees any cooperation with Taipei as a direct challenge to its One China policy and a threat to its sovereignty. China views the expanding U.S.-Philippines alliance, along with new American access to Philippine military bases, as part of a broader strategy to encircle and contain it. This perception has led to a rapid buildup of Chinese naval forces in the region and more assertive maneuvers near Philippine waters. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. China's aggressive actions push Manila closer to Washington, which in turn provokes even more pressure from Beijing. Each new incident, whether at sea or in diplomatic halls, raises the risk of a miscalculation that could spiral into open conflict. For ordinary Filipinos, especially those who depend on the sea for their livelihoods, the stakes are personal. They find themselves caught between defending their own waters and navigating the explosive geopolitics of the Taiwan Strait, where even a minor incident could have far-reaching consequences. As the Philippines faces mounting pressure from all sides, its strategic choices are more perilous than ever. The decisions made in Manila today could determine not just the country's future, but the stability of the entire region. The South China Sea is now a test of the post-war order, law versus force. China's slow-motion annexation meets unprecedented pushback from the Philippines and the US. The risk of a miscalculation triggering a wider conflict is dangerously high. A clash would disrupt global trade, draw in superpowers, and shatter decades of Asian prosperity. The Philippines fights for its identity and rights. China seeks to reclaim what it sees as lost territory. Diplomacy is urgently needed, but compromise is elusive as China rejects the 2016 ruling. Without a return to rules and restraint, the sea could become a permanent conflict zone. The world is watching, and Asia is holding its breath.